Hello, everyone. Welcome again to the Prophecy Podcast, Future Focused. I'm here with Marco. You guys remember from the last time, knowledge galore. I'm going to sit back and be educated today. The first conversation, just so many good tidbits of information and just generally what's going on in the fixed ops world. A lot of upheavals, a lot of different things going on, and it's always great to get your perspective. So welcome to the show again, Marco. We appreciate you having you on, especially 6:30 local time for you. So thank you. We appreciate the commitment.
Oh, absolutely, Alex. My pleasure of being here, and I'm glad that the last session we had, I thought it went great. It was well received. Got a lot of good information, both from you guys and from me. And I hope that we can continue this collaboration and shed some light on things that need to be shown a light on.
Absolutely. Probably one of the most important things we can talk about today. A lot of things going on in the world. We have a lot of clients talking about stop sales. We have, cars that are, waiting on parts. And I would imagine it's a very busy time to be a technician, also a very hot time, depending on the type of shop that you are in. It is summer full bore. And so hats off to all those technicians out there that are dealing with non-climate controlled areas and bays.
Right.
But what are you seeing in your world? I mean, you talk, obviously, you've got a lot going on your side. Any changes since we last spoke, kind of mindset shifts or just operationally things that you're noticing a little bit different?
Operationally, we are starting to slow down here in vacation land, Florida, because
Yeah.
people are starting to go back up north to spend the summers in more tolerable temperatures, if you will.
Yes.
So we are seeing a little bit more of a slowdown, which brings a whole new slew of issues and challenges with on how do you keep the base filled and how do you keep the money coming in. So it's just it's a shift. I call it the tight belt syndrome. When it's been proven actually that if your pants fit tight, you do not get hungry. So I see this as in season, as we call it, when you're just busy, busy, busy. You can't get through it. You're not thinking forward to this time of year when there's very little to do. So the shops and dealerships that do not have the capacity to look forward into the future and plan on this, now all of a sudden they find themselves standing around in the shop just looking at each other like, now what do we do?
Yeah.
So this is something that, I can definitely see marketing helping with. Like we said the last time, that marketing should be a constant. It's not a band-aid. It's like a pill you take every day, pretty much. It
Mhm.
should be a constant, and then you avoid situations like this.
Yeah. Our philosophy is very much that way, right? It's not a silver bullet. It's good repetitions, good frequency, constantly be in the places that people want. But going back to something that I think that's important, when you guys get into off season, or at least when things slow down, what does that do to the mindset of the folks standing in those bays? Does it cause disarray? Does everyone understand what's going on? Do you guys pitch in and try to find things to do? How does that work when it comes? Because I think this ebb and flow of like we're 2 weeks out versus we could take an appointment same day is happening quite a bit. And so walk me through that mindset.
Well, when it first starts slowing down, all of us, advisors and management included, have a just a chill for a moment. Like you don't want to do anything. You're just standing around like, oh my God, this is so much better than, excuse me, than what we had going on.
Right.
Um, and then it kicks in. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I'm like, my bills are not stopping. I still like to put some money in savings. I still like to go on vacation. And, that's another thing. This time of year, a lot of training is planned, and a lot of vacations are planned because now we could afford having 2 or 3 guys less in the shop. When we have like 8 or 9 technicians in the shop, we're not that big. So missing 2 or 3 guys this time of year versus like in season. So there's a lot of training going on. We're using the time like for purposes like that. Vacations, obviously, but now you start to get a little bit more nitpicky about the cars that are coming in. You pay a little bit more attention to the service history. You plow through the service sheets. Like, okay, anything else I can recommend? Like, you take a little bit of a longer test drive. Not saying that in season we're just not paying attention to vehicles. Absolutely not. But
Hmm.
now you have to be a little bit more creative to make the hours. So that's
Interesting.
usually what
So,
happens in our off.
so let me ask a question because that
Good.
mindset brings up the next important question. Because you're taking a little extra time, obviously the communication with riders, probably better, a little less hectic, more quality attention. Is CP going up at this time, or is it going down?
Huh.
Hard to say, hard to correlate, because I'm always curious. I mean, if you guys have more quality time to do the MPIs, to take the attention to detail
Right.
that's required, to talk to the clients, you guys see a little bit more or not so much?
I would say that it's about the same as in when we are busy. It's just the quantity is less, but I think the ratio of warranty versus CP does not change much throughout the year. It's more of a quantity issue.
Gotcha.
What we do see is, funny enough, there's more declines in repairs. Clients tend to decline work sooner and more often during this time of year because the people that we are left with here are the locals who also depend on on tourism income. So when off season hits, it's not just for the dealership and our productivity, but it's for everyone in town. And those are the people that we are left servicing this time of year. The occasional tourist is still here, but so now, having said that, probably a little less CP during off season than in season.
Interesting. So, have you ever, during these off seasons, have you ever just been wowed by a new marketing initiative, by anything by the operation that they've been doing to try to cull up more business in an off period? Has there ever been something like that? And it's not to speak poorly of your operation. I know you're please don't, right? It's I know you're very happy and proud with them, and it obviously, I mean, you can tell. But has there been ever a very strong push where you've been pulled in, or they've talked to you about it and said, "Hey, we know it's off season. These are the things that we're trying to do from a marketing perspective to maybe bring in more locals, maybe increase CP, maybe try to drive more warranty work outside of OEM communicated warranty."
Right.
Has that ever happened? Have you seen that? And what were some success stories from that?
I can give you two stories. One of them is please don't do this, people. It's an absolute no-no. Now you start sending out all these invites to people that haven't been at the dealership in 5-10 years for cheap oil changes or free inspections or come in and you get this. Or now you are attracting the people that haven't been to your store in the first place. Now they come in and they demand a loaner, a car wash, you name it. They're taking up our time, especially when it comes down to the free inspections. A lot of times technicians don't get paid for it because, hey, you know what? If you sell something, you make your money there. So now you get all these hoopty-doos in for people that can't afford going to the dealership, because they call us the stealership.
That's a good
but right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we have marketing on the bad side. Now, marketing on the good side, and I've brushed on this before, and I'm a big fan of it, is service clinics. This time of year is a great time for service clinics. Get the locals in that even if their vehicle is in warranty, who cares? Money is money. I don't care who signs the paycheck, whether it's the manufacturer or the customer. So if you're slowing down, now you can bring these people in, your quality customers, so to speak. And you got enough data to prove what your quality customers are. You know that as well as I do, Alex. 100%. So bring those in, pay the unique attention to the person and the vehicle, just wow them. And you start building that up and building it up year after year. Used to do 4 or 5 of them during off season. Different people every time. But it worked really, really well. And the weeks after that, it kept the base full for repairs that we had recommended and that we could actually show to the customer right there on the spot. Like, hey, okay, now I see this. Thank you for showing me this. So that will be a very good marketing session, is the service clinics.
Okay, so this is a very common problem. We get this a lot, right? When we are with our clients or with any new prospective clients and we talk about fixed ops offers and we say that it's a little bit better to be transparent, use your everyday price, let's all be friends, do not provide a price that someone on that's sitting in your guys' waiting room cannot get.
Right.
for your digital folks, right? I mean, obviously one-to-one email communication is a little bit different. The number one offense that you see are two things, right? A very cheap oil change going out to call up some business quickly. And then you see the discounts, the vague percent off discounts. No one knows how much it's off. We don't know if it's a 149, 199, 79.99 plus 10% off.
Right.
You're saying avoid that like the plague. Now that's
Yes.
a luxury store. Let's say you're not. Let's say you're a Ford Master Tech and you guys have a quick lane. Do you still feel that that's the answer, or do you feel like these clinics can drive people? Because I guess what I'm having a hard time understanding is a little bit more of who's coming to this clinic. What's the clinic geared around? Is the clinic geared around understanding the vehicle more? Because we all know post delivery, once someone buys it, there's many features that a customer doesn't understand. But
Right.
I guess maybe shed some perspective on that. And is it more of just general awareness about the vehicle? Because then you can see young folks who perhaps have never been taught how to change a spare tire, perhaps never been taught how to, where the dipstick is and how to. We all see what's going on social media with folks trying to.
Right.
I mean, I just saw one where someone was pouring coolant in their oil cap. Right? It's very funny what's going on. But walk me through that, because I guess I'm not understanding it completely.
Well, you got an excellent point there. Like I'm talking from the luxury perspective. I mean, my dealership, we do Jaguar, Land Rover, Aston Martin, Bentley, Rolls Royce, and Maserati. We're
Mm-hmm.
not exactly Nissan and Ford. Um, so our clientele is, most of them are really interested in their vehicles because they buy these vehicles because they have a connection with them. As where a lot of like Fords and dare I say cheaper vehicles, it's more of a use item
Mm-hmm.
than a show item. When it comes down to like a Ford dealership that has a service lane, when it comes down to Ford, I would push hard on mobile service and I would market the heck out of that
You're
because
talking
Ford
mobile
has
van going out and actually servicing people at their home addresses.
abs- absolutely not just
Interesting.
people, but think about how many businesses utilize Ford vehicles, pickups, vans, the smaller, I call them little ice cream trucks, the little box vans. There's a lot of commercial going on with Ford that I don't barely see at my level, unless you're talking about a realtor driving around in a Land Rover, for example. But with Ford and other brands such as Honda, Chevy, Toyota, Nissan, I would push hard on mobile service. I would put my focus there instead of service clinics. When it comes down to service clinics, I would change it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I would make it more like you said, like how to show them where to top off your fluid, show them how to change a tire. So it becomes more of a instructional than a wowing factor. Like, yes, a lot of people get the car explained on delivery, but they never see the car from up on the lift and see it from the bottom. Most people are just floored by what is under their vehicle, which is great for the luxury segment. But when it comes down to the workers' cars, like well, I have two of them sitting in the driveway. I don't drive anything luxury, but I would like to know, like, hey, yeah, wait a minute. How do I change a tire? Where is this? How do I jumpstart it? Simple things that
Right.
we just assume people know.
Right.
So that's a very good point. Thank you for bringing that up to differentiate between luxury and commercial, for example. But I would definitely be pushing mobile.
Yeah. There's so many people, and we've talked about this. It feels like when COVID was in full swing, this just made sense. I think a lot of folks took that jump. We've seen AutoNation go out as a publicly traded group. They're going out and doing this now, and kudos to them. Logistically, it's got to be a very difficult thing to understand and figure out. Profitability wise, perhaps it takes some time. I mean, if you're going out there and doing $79 to $199, synthetic blend or full synthetic oil changes, it can't be super profitable unless you've got 7 or 8 clients per day and you're just constantly burning gas out there in the mobile van. But from a marketing perspective, it's such a home run when you can start incorporating the convenience of booking in-home appointments, because you're no longer a fixed ops operation traditionally. You now become e-commerce. and you're similar to someone or their expectation purchasing something
Right.
on Amazon and expecting that in 2 days coming to their house. Boy, if those things can align, I tell you what, I live here in Los Angeles and I have a luxury vehicle. I live 3 miles from my local store. I've been in there 4 times in the last 2 years, all of them with some sort of electrical problem or something else going on. I won't get into that or name the brand. I've never once been asked, do you want us to pick up the car? I've never once been asked, hey, why don't we adjust your appointment to get a loaner car set up for you? I've never once been shown an MPI. Doesn't happen, right? And so when this is occurring on 80, 90, $120,000 vehicles, I can't imagine what's going on. But honestly, what I've been seeing on some of the more economic value-based brands is, a little bit more technological advancement there. And I think it's just by design where perhaps work doesn't cost that much and you have to spend a little bit more time, as you said in the beginning, right? Doing the quality things that can potentially, hopefully elevate CP. So mobile service is huge. We would love to advertise it. It does sound like your guys' clinics for the brands that you represent make a ton of sense. And I love that. Honestly, I would show up to it. I would take my kids to it. I'd want
Oh,
them
yeah.
to learn. I blew a flat tire. Thank God my father taught me how to do it, right? And how to go and adjust it. We were in the middle of nowhere, Tennessee, and AAA was, I don't know, hour and 45 minutes away, and it was a Suburban. And so it was not a small tire, and we got it done. And so I was
Right.
like, yep, my kids need to know these things, and people really need to know how it works. Some other questions that I really have, and we were talking about how on our last conversation, how communication doesn't necessarily get all the way back to the techs, especially the master techs who kind of lead everything in the back.
Right.
Um, whether it's marketing, promotional, let me ask you a question. Let's just say I'm a marketing company and I'm trying to find quick avenues to generate CP or RO count for my clients. Wouldn't it be best to communicate with a technician directly and say, hey, which ones are you able to complete quickly? Which ones are no sweat off the brow and you're able to do day in and day out that are relatively fun, but can yield other results? Does that communication happen with leadership at your facility or just in general with some of your colleagues and peers that you talk to? Or is it very much done in a silo where they're like, these are our 6 services, period, and we're going to advertise these things because the OEM is telling us to, and we're going to, again, hit everyone in our UIO and kind of go from there? Give me your take on that.
First of all, a lot of times dealership personnel is we are tied by the policies and procedures of the manufacturer. We can't really dream up services. We have to, stick with the schedules and their repair procedures. Um, a lot of times I'm finding that there is very little communication from upfront and management with the people that actually have to do it. So it's like walking into a restaurant, you've been handed a menu, you select this, and the chef has no idea what's on the menu. So
Great
like,
point.
oh, so and so wants, okay, what? I didn't prepare for that. So it's always very important to talk to the boots on the ground, the people that actually have to do the work. Jim Lehman and I had a conversation about this a while back, and it's like the technicians will make or break a vendor. Absolutely. You come in, go like, oh, we got this new stuff, and it's going to make you 200% more efficient, and you're going to make so much money you can buy a new Formula boat next month. Right. Okay. I've heard it all.
Yeah.
Please. I mean, come
Yeah.
on. So we can make or break you, and not just because we don't like you or not, but we can see this is just not going to work.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
So
I love that you brought that up too, because obviously vendors come to you all the time. Us as a marketing company, how would you recommend if we wanted to go about communicating more with boots on the ground? How should we approach it? It's like I've spent so much time in variable and fixed. I'm able to conversate. I'm able to talk about the ins and outs of the operation.
right.
But with technicians, maybe 2% of my conversations overall in a 18-year career, 17 years. How do
Okay.
we
So
how do we get this going?
let me ask you a question. When you
Mm,
talk to technicians, are you by yourself, or is there a manager there, or a shop foreman? Are you able to roam through the shop for multiple days on end and create a rapport with these technicians? Because when we first see a strange duck walking through the shop, you're the light, we're the cockroaches. No, we're not. We're gone. We're not talking to you. Especially if you're walking around with management, because then we're like, oh shit.
Yeah. Audit.
What can
Something's going on.
right.
Yeah.
So you have to build a rapport with the technicians, especially the seasoned ones that have been around for a while. And I would just really bring it to them as in, hey, what would you change? What would you like to see? What are your thoughts on getting more cars in these bays during slow times, busy times, doesn't matter. Just get cars into what are your what do you think people want? What do you have you heard from your friends, your family? What are we looking for? Then depending on the brand, you can go with service clinics, you can go with mobile service, you can go with the pickup and delivery, as you mentioned. Um,
Huge.
we operate 3 tow trucks that are owned by the dealership. We drive as far as Georgia to go pick up cars
Mm,
to
mm,
have
mm.
serviced with us. Um, is that a moneymaker? No, it's a pure loss at that point. But what do we get? Reputation, culture because of the reputation, and a constant stream of customers. Now, it takes hard work to get there, and marketing definitely has a big place in that. So I would just core technicians. It's pretty much like you want to take them on a date. Listen to them, talk to them.
Culture is a big one. Culture is also a very marketable thing. We have a production team, a studio team, and we'll go out to dealerships and we'll do filming and we'll get the team. And as of recently, we just were going through and there was a dedicated commercial team, so we were talking fleet and looking at them, and they've got an 80,000-pound lift. It's very unique, right? And so we want to
Right.
capture that culture. I think the better thing from what I'm hearing from you is instead of going after individual offers, which if you talk to any service director, they're going to tell you, hey, here's our promotions. We've got these tire rebates going on right now. Let's advertise these things. But really what you're saying is what's going to make the difference is advertising, or at least creating branding around culture. And the culture comes from reputation. How do you pick that up? Right? If I'm walking in blind into the service bays, what are some signs? What are some things I should be looking for where you're like, oh, this is high caliber culture? Is it cleanliness of the shop? Is it communication? Is it uniforms? I mean, cues that I can pick up. Because quite honestly, I don't spend as much time as I honestly should inside stores every day, though I'm conversating with owners and operators. But perhaps we need to do more of that, and perhaps we have to do these things to be truly successful and fixed, especially creating custom content. What are your thoughts? I mean, if you had 3 bullet points to look for high culture, high caliber, what would you look
All
for?
right. Cleanliness of the shop's got nothing to do with it. I mean, the OR can be clean as can be, you still have medical malpractice. It's got nothing to do with it.
Touche.
It's like what I don't know if you've ever heard of Jordan Peterson or listened to any of his work.
I have.
Well, then you know what he says about listening.
Mm-hmm.
How important, and not listen to react, but listen to absorb.
Right.
What you need to do, Alex, is walk into a dealership, walk into the service department. Just stand there, get a cup of coffee, pretend like you're a customer, bring a newspaper, bring a laptop, sit down, do whatever. It's like, listen, you will pick up on a good vibe. If people are having fun, they're joking, they're laughing, that translates in how they talk and interact with customers, how they talk to their co-workers. If you hear a lot of laughing, if you hear music, well, of course not in the advisor offices, but like coming out of the shop, for example, even though most people use earbuds nowadays. But another good thing is, do you see technicians? Are they like being kept in the back of the shop, curtains closed, like, oh, no, you can't see that,
Very
are
good
dirty
point.
employees? Or do you see them walking through the service area, the front of the service area, talking directly to advisors in their offices, interacting with customers because they have been given the freedom by management to walk through an area where customers are sitting. It doesn't matter if they own a Corolla or a Maserati. Sir, how are you? Strike up a little conversation like, oh, it's like, no, it's like this, that, and that's like, have a great day. Or I like to say, make it a great day, because, no one gets to have one. You got to work for it.
Well
But
said.
thank you. But it's things like that. That's where you pick up on. And that can be the dirtiest shop ever. Where's the best food coming from? A hole in the wall place, right?
That's true.
So you got to look at past the aesthetics of course, a good dealership looks nice, but just listen. You feel it. You pick up on a good vibe. If everyone's walking around like and constantly like, you have a management problem. And
Yeah.
no
Well,
marketing, yeah, no marketing is going to fix that unless you're marketing for new management.
and look, I'm not trying to laugh about the management problem. The managers have a lot to deal with. I do not
Yes,
want to undersell that. It is a highly stressful job. That is why a lot of folks can't cut it. And there's a lot of turnover because even some of the best people crack and break under that pressure. But I think it's an important tidbit that you shared. All of that's important. But I think the key for me that I didn't even realize was going on is I don't know if I've been to an operation, and I've been to hundreds across the country, where I've seen technicians come out and directly talk. Typically that's owned and that process is with the writers, and they're there and they want to control, and perhaps there's upsell potential, and maybe they don't want the technician to, piss the customer off by saying the wrong thing or he's grumpy that day. But I think you're right. They mostly are siloed into the back, if not underground out here in California quite a bit, right? And it's you just don't see them. You don't know what's going on. You don't know where your car is. It's just all of a sudden it turns the corner and there it is, and you're done. So
right,
very, very important. Thank you for sharing that little "Where's Waldo" nugget at the end at minute
right.
25. But hopefully people are still listening by this point. We'll obviously we'll have different edits for this, but Mark, a wealth of information. I hope we get to do this so many more times,
Absolutely.
and you just share your wisdom with everyone who's listening. And I appreciate it. I learn every single time. So thank you.
Absolutely my pleasure, Alex. As long as you guys want to, keep listening to me talking, I'll be on. So you call it and I'll be there.
Sign me up. Sign me up. For everyone else that's listening right now, that's the Future Focus podcast. We're Prophecy Digital. This is Marco coming at you with wisdom on the fixed ops side of life. We'll catch you again real soon. In the meantime, have a beautiful day. Thanks all.